Excited now to introduce our last Ed Talk for the day and last event for the day, and it's a very important issue that many of you are dealing with across your states, which is really about the IT side of teaching and broadband accessibility. I'm really excited to introduce Evan Marwell, CEO and founder of the Education Superhighway. Evan is a serial entrepreneur. He started companies in the last 25 years in the telecom, software, hedge funds, and even consumer retailing industries. And collectively, these businesses have created thousands of jobs and generated billions of dollars. But he founded the nonprofit Education Superhighway in 2012. And in its first 3 years, the organization served as a catalyst for the modernization of the Federal Communications Commission's $3.9 billion E-rate program. Evan was also the 2015 Visionary of the Year from the San Francisco Chronicle, and we're excited to have him to talk about the work they're doing with the Education Superhighway. Please join me in welcoming Evan to the stage.
Good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock. It's been a long day. I'm sure you're all ready to go. So I'm going to let everybody stand up, please. Take a little stretch and stay standing for a second, because I want you all to be good listeners for the next 12 minutes. Okay, now, if today you have used your smartphone, your tablet, your laptop, or even a desktop, some people still have those, to look at the internet, sit down. So there you have it. The internet's pretty important in our lives today. Wait, I didn't tell you you could sit down yet. For those of you who haven't done that, I don't know how you get through your day, but that's okay. You know who else thinks that the internet's really important? Teachers. In a recent survey, 96% of teachers said that integrating technology into their classrooms using the internet was critical to the future of education for our kids. They said this because they understand that the internet can open up a world of opportunities, educational opportunities for their students. They said this because they understand that technology can help them adapt their lessons to each of their kids' needs. And they said this because they understand that technology and the internet can let them spend more time teaching and less time doing administrative work, and that that time can be spent more in small groups and individualized instruction. They said this because they understand that small uses of technology, not huge adaptive learning, crazy sci-fi stuff, but small uses of technology can make a big difference in their classrooms. And I want to share with you a story of something I recently saw. I was in Hillview Middle School in California, and the teacher there is using technology to adapt his teaching and his learning for what he teaches each kid. He does a very simple thing. Every kid in the 8th grade math class has an iPad. When they arrive in the classroom, waiting on that iPad is what he calls his go problem. It's a short problem that they need to do and submit back to him that reflects whether they understood last night's homework. Now, the interesting thing isn't that technology. The interesting thing is what happens after about 1.5 minutes. So he gives the kids about 3 minutes. After about 1.5 minutes, he gets up and starts walking over to some of the students. What's he doing? He's going to the students that have not yet submitted the problem, and he now understands that they're struggling with something. And he asks them a few questions, and within that 3-minute period, the time it takes to normally get a class settled down and going, he not only has engaged his students in the learning process, he's understood which of them didn't understand yesterday's material, and he knows what he has to review before he scaffolds on today's instruction. So that's an example of how teachers are doing small things to make big differences with technology. And he's not alone. This map shows the 2,200 districts across this country that have signed the Future Ready Pledge. They're superintendents who have committed to making digital learning available in all of their classrooms. And they're doing it because teachers around this country are finding innovative ways to use technology to improve teaching and learning. By doing this, they have opened the door for 14.5 million kids to have a more engaging learning environment, for their teachers to have a more fulfilling learning environment, and for their parents to be more connected to their classrooms. Now, the key to the future-ready classroom, to the future of digital learning, is connectivity. And unfortunately, today, over 21 million students and 1.6 million teachers don't have the broadband they need to effectively use technology in their classroom. This map shows where every state is in terms of what percentage of their school districts are connected to enough broadband to meet the FCC's goal around digital learning. And if your state isn't bright green, it means there's a substantial number of kids and teachers in your state and in your classrooms that don't have the connectivity they need to use technology to change teaching and learning. Now, the good news is that solving this problem isn't that hard. We need to do three things. We need to bring fiber to every school. We need to put a Wi-Fi access point in every classroom. And we have to make sure that broadband is affordable enough that districts can get the connectivity that they need. And thanks to recent action by the FCC on the E-rate program, I believe that we can connect every one of our classrooms in this country by 2020. Why do I believe this? I believe this because we now have $2.5 billion a year of additional resources, now $3.9 billion in total, to connect our schools. I believe this because for the first time, the FCC is allowing school districts and states to use that money to bring fiber to every school. I believe this because for the first time, every school district in the country has a $150 per student budget, funded largely by the E-rate program, to put Wi-Fi in every classroom. And for the first time, school districts have access to data on what broadband should cost. And as a result, over the last 2 years, we've managed to cut the cost of broadband in half. But the real reason I believe this is possible is because we're already making incredible progress. In the last 2 years, we've connected 20 million kids and nearly 1.5 million teachers to the broadband they need for digital learning. And for the 21 million kids that aren't yet connected, we now have 40 governors across this country from both political parties who have committed publicly to upgrading their schools. And these governors represent 80% of those kids, over 80% of those kids. Even more importantly, they're already taking action. 29 of those 40 governors are already taking action to upgrade their schools. So what are they doing? Well, in Arkansas, Arkansas, they renegotiated their state's broadband contract for providing connectivity to school districts. As a result of doing that, without spending a penny more, they're going to deliver 40 times more bandwidth to every school district. And because of that, every student in Arkansas is going to have 2 times as much internet access as the FCC says is the minimum you need to use technology in the classroom. In California and New Mexico, they're making millions of dollars available to bring fiber to schools that don't have it. And in New Mexico last year, the state invested just under $1 million in this program, leveraged nearly $20 million from the FCC's E-rate program, and cut in half the number of schools that don't have a fiber optic connection. And that was just in the first year of the program. In Wyoming, they've connected all their school districts to the bandwidth they need, so they're now focused on Wi-Fi and putting an access point in every classroom. They're using an approach that was pioneered in North Carolina of the state providing technical assistance and organizing procurement across the state to make sure that districts buy what they need at the best possible price. And in New Jersey, the state has helped school districts lower the cost of broadband by 2/3, and in the doing so, has tripled the amount of bandwidth that their school districts are getting. So states across the country are taking action, and I'm proud to say that Education Superhighway has been a big part of that. We help states identify which of their school districts need upgrades, and then we provide the technical and the procurement expertise that they need to bring fiber to their schools, put Wi-Fi in their classrooms, and make broadband affordable enough that districts can buy what they need within their budget. And the good news is, as a nonprofit, we do it all for free. Free for states, free for school districts. Because it turns out there's a lot states can do, and I talked about, whoops, I went the wrong way. And I talked about some of those things. But there are really three main things that states can focus on that we've found to be effective. So the first is, again, we need to bring fiber to every school. Setting up fiber matching funds, which give you 10 to 20x leverage against the E-rate program, can help all of your school districts afford the one-time construction costs that they need. Providing technical and procurement expertise and organizing districts into buying groups can help ensure that that $150 per student budget is enough to put a Wi-Fi access point in every classroom. And helping school districts identify new service providers who can bring them service and revamping state contracts can help make sure that they have access to affordable broadband. But perhaps most importantly, what states can do is they can provide the leadership needed to ensure that school boards and superintendents understand the importance of this problem and take action to upgrade their schools, and the accountability to keep track of how they're doing. If we don't solve this problem, we're going to continue to be faced with situations like this. Recent data that came out shows that 40% of our high schools in this country don't offer physics, 52% don't offer calculus, and 75% don't offer computer science. Broadband can help solve that problem. How can we expect our students to compete on the global stage with their peers who are well connected if they don't have access to core STEM courses like this? How can we expect our teachers to help our students compete in the 21st century if they don't have the tools they need to personalize and adapt learning for every kid? How can we expect our students to compete if their parents don't have access to the data they need to be involved in their students' learning process? And how can we expect our students to compete if they don't have access to the same engaging educational opportunities that their competitors, students around the world, have access to because they're well connected? We're really excited about the opportunity that sits in front of all of you. I like to say the table's been set. America is focused on this problem. The resources are available, $3.9 billion a year from the federal government. And we have momentum. All that we need to do now is take action. All you need to do is think about how can you take action. If your state's not acting today, can you be the champion? If it is acting, what can you do in your department, in your legislative committee, or in your organization to accelerate the pace of upgrades? Because 2020 is an achievable goal, but only if we all get on board. Thank you very much.